um, barbarian that I've actually played in Shenanigans is the first thief that I've actually played. I'm really enjoying those, but for the most part, I enjoy playing like paladins and thieves, or paladins and clerics and stuff like that.
Awesome. And I don't think that Lee is the first barbarian you played. First barbarian you played, I do recall, was back in second edition, or was it third edition? The one that had its arm ripped off.
Oh yeah, the tiefling barbarian. Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Awesome. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we will start taking questions from the stream. We also have a number of questions from email, some from our Facebook page, and a few from online.
Okay, okay, Geo. This is from one of our online questions. One of the big things that's been going around lately, and we're seeing a lot of this, is the questions about feats. Take them or not to take them? That is the question.
Honestly, it all depends on the type of campaign. If you're running a campaign that you're looking for something outside the cookie cutter, outside the box, feats are a great way to start tailoring characters to what the players want to play. Feats are not there specifically just for a player's power or a character's power. They are there to add color, add depth, and add background to the character. It's entirely up to the game master, and either taking a feat or using the ability improvement at every 4 levels. Either way works out just fine.
I have I have to kind of disagree with that a little bit, only because some of the feats really aren't. I'm seeing that the fifth edition feats really aren't tailored to character development. They're more tailored to you know the crap that go just the extraneous crap that goes along with having a character, like making them stronger or giving them a dex, with their saves and stuff like that, or giving them the ability to use more weapons or something like that. I don't find them helpful in character development.
Okay, we can agree to disagree. I find a number of the feats to be, yes, they do increase the power level. However, they also add depth to the character. For example, Spell Sniper. Um, a Spell Sniper, when you have a mage or a warlock or even a cleric, imagine that battlecaster who has gone through the anvil of fire. The typical cookie cutter right out of the box mage or warlock doesn't really reflect the fact that, oh, I've been through war. Spell Sniper helps reflect the fact that I've had experience doing this, I've had experience doing that, I've had experience using my spells in such a way. Now, people usually use Spell Sniper, and once we'll talk about Spell Sniper for a second. They usually use it on a warlock or a wizard or a bard or some of these other ones to have damage get thrown out very accurately to give them bonuses to throw that out. Well, how about something like a cleric? Having a cleric who has, for example, healing word, you can use it at range, utilizing things like that and being extra accurate in a way to, I mean, typically you don't need to roll a hit in order to do something like that. Just using that as an example, kind of made up off the top of my head. Using this as a way to show that the combat medic that is out there on the field, or the paladin with a spell sniper ability, who's able to sit here and hammer on somebody and then utilize other abilities plus a spell sniper to heal a friend who may be falling over here on the other side of the battlefield. Those kinds of things add depth. They add color. They add a little something memorable about your character.
Now, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm not saying that there aren't any feats out there that aren't useful in character development, but it just seems like the majority of them are for min-maxing characters.
Granted, that is also true. You can min-max your characters by utilizing things like feats. But at the same time, you can also min-max your characters utilizing the ability score improvement. That is exactly what it's there for, is to increase your ability scores up to a certain maximum.
Okay, we have another question. What are some of the most powerful feats, and what are some of the most weakest?
That honestly depends on the game that you're in. If you're in a game that requires a lot of combat, then of course all of your feats that will be the most quote unquote powerful will be the ones that are all combat oriented. Whereas if you're in an investigation type of game, which there are some, then anything that would aid in those investigations, something that's a skill based campaign, once again, if it improves your skills or the number of skills you have, then that would be the one that's the most powerful. It all depends on the kind of game. And don't forget, there are basically three kinds of games or any game system, whether it's D&D or GURPS or Rifts or Star Wars or Pathfinder, any of them. There are three types. You have interaction games, exposition games, and exploration games. Feats can be broken down into those three things as well. And what is most powerful in one of those types of things may be the least powerful in the other two.
Agreed, agreed. Now we're going to get to this is a question we, as game masters and as players, we actually hear quite a bit. What is your favorite system? What system do you like to play the most? That kind of stuff.
I have played nearly every system out there. I believe at last count, I own over 180 some odd systems, close to 200.
Yeah, I think it's
I
something like that.
Yeah, I've run. Oh, I have got to say I have run close to 30 some odd different systems on a regular basis. More than a one shot, more than a con adventure or something like that. I have actually run them on a day-to-day basis in my home games. Out of all of those 30 some odd, my top 3 that I'd have to say are D&D, D6, and Rifts. Now, let me put a caveat in here. D&D except for 4th edition. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree there. That never happened. Okay, next. All right. Another thing we hear, you specifically hear quite a bit, is where do you get your freaking ideas from?
Ideas are a lot from media. They are from current world events. They are from tropes. They are from plot lines for movies, for books. At this day and age, as we look at Hollywood, you see the fact that they are remaking a lot of old movies as new upgraded movies. Whether we like or dislike the new movies, they're here.
Conan.
Yes, Conan, um, Star Trek, anything with J.J. Abrams. Blech. But
I swear to God, he lens flares my freaking Star Wars one more time, and we're gonna have an issue. Just saying.
well, the lens flare is here to stay because J.J. Abrams is apparently the sci-fi god. So we'll just agree to disagree with Hollywood on that one. But when it comes to finding out where your ideas come from, they come from inside. They come from your heart. They come from your players. As a game master, I always look to my players to say, hey, what do you want to play? If they want to play a hardcore campaign with a lot of different stuff, that's combat oriented, and they want to have a Starship Troopers moment where they're fighting bugs on an alien planet, then by all means, I will go ahead and I will design something like that. I get my ideas from my players most often.
You would seriously that crappy Casper Van Dien movie Us? Seriously?
I did like 10 years ago when we played a game. Do you not remember the Bug Assault?
Shut up, shut up, shut up. All I could hear is medic. Okay, we do have another question. Pros and cons of 5th edition.
Pros is accessibility. Um, it's accessible to an entirely new generation of gamer. Most of the gamers who are just beginning to play D&D now have grown up on video games, where my generation or even Susie's generation didn't have these video games to fall back on, things like World of Warcraft or Rift or the MOBAs or any of the rest of those things. We didn't have those. We had our imagination, we had books. You guys, you've got an entire world sitting right there in front of you, and for good or for ill, and this is a pro and a con, for good or for ill, D&D has become a handbook on how to make an MMO. Because of that, some of the older players who've been around for a while, and I don't want to get into edition wars on which edition is better because there's no such thing. The edition that is best is the one that you and your party have the most fun playing. The pros and the cons here for 5th edition is the fact that older players sometimes feel that it's a little bit out of reach. Mike Merles, when he went through and I mean, there was over 2 years of public play testing involved, which, if you want to call it, it was a beta test, which beta testing only happens in video games. So when he beta tested this, he was asking people what they wanted. My generation is not an internet generation. Sure, we designed the internet, we created the internet, and we gave it life. We breathed into it. But it's the current generation that lives on the internet. They're the ones who are shaping our future. D&D, as you can see, there's a lot of things there that us old gamers like. But D&D was shaped by the newest generation, and it's aimed for the newest generation. Some of my generation may feel that it's a little off-putting for some of us. If you're able to adapt, then it works.
Freaking grognards.
Hey, I'm happy to be a grognard. I'm loud and proud about being a grognard.
Okay, another hot button topic that we're going to discuss tonight is, and we keep hearing this, and we've been hearing this since the beginning of gaming began, female players. How do you incorporate them, and how do you prevent butthurt?
I'm gonna preface this by saying hashtag triggered.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree there. All right, ladies, if you first of all, I'm going to premise this by saying there is a big difference between gamer girls and girls who game. I am a girl who games. I'm not a gamer girl. I'm not going. I'm sorry. No, if you're one of those girls who's just doing it because your boyfriend's doing it or because it's the latest fad, you are a gamer girl. Don't talk to me. But if you are a girl who enjoys gaming and will sit there and, when your boyfriend's bitching about the fact that you've been gaming for the last 6 hours straight and you look at him and tell him to shut up and make you a sandwich, then come talk to me, honey. Keep him. That's just me throwing that out there. Now, ladies, if you are in a game and your game master is treating you like one of the guys, shut up and take it. Because technically you are one of the guys at this point. Guys, you wanted to role play. You wanted to do this. If they're treating you like one of the guys and you feel that it's sexist or racist or genderist or whatever, I really don't care. You are one of the guys. Get over it. Put your big girl panties on and make the crude jokes and stuff like that with the rest of them. Trust me, you'll enjoy it more.
As a male game master, and I actually thought about this earlier today because Susie and I went through some of these questions, and this was one of the questions that popped up. In my many, many, many years of gaming, I don't think I have ever had less than one female at my table at any time, whether that's at a convention or in my own home games. Matter of fact, in my home games, I have anywhere between 1 and 4 female players sitting around the table. And I like to have female players. Number one, I like to see females in the hobby. As a father of 2 young ladies, I am very proud to see them fly their geek flags, and it makes me feel good. But as a game master, how do I see female players? I see the female players like I see male players. I don't see the gender. All I see is a player.
Sorry, I have to agree with that, and it that's the way it should be. We're I'm not there to be treated any differently than anybody else sitting at my table. Whether I'm the only female or not, it really doesn't matter. But and I know some ladies have run into this, especially if you go to cons and stuff like that. They tend to see you not so much as a player, but as a pair of boobs that just walked up and sat down at their table. Ignore that crap, move on, and kick all their asses.
Let's move on to another question then.
Yep, yep. Okay. Oh, this is another hot button topic that we are finding more and more of. Role playing with kids, especially with the younger generation coming up, and now that um, more and more kids are getting into this, it's becoming a fad. Stuff like that. You're seeing older GMs who are getting younger and younger players. How do you cope with that? How do you incorporate that without ruining the content of the game?
Well, once again, let me just say that a player is a player is a player. I tend to run things that have a little bit more adult content. Um, a lot of my normal games that I run, I won't run for anybody under the age of 18 because I wouldn't want my own children to hear or to experience some of the things I'm about ready to put my players through. So therefore, I don't think anybody else will want me to put their child through it either. I do use harsh language. Anybody who has watched my stream before sees that I put up a mature warning and a rated M for mature label right on my stream, so that way people know that my language is a little rough. The content matter is a little rough. But I have played with younger players. I've run games with younger players. And they bring a different breath to the game and new eyes to the game, a stronger back to the game. These kids have ideas, whether they're original ideas or things they've read online or seen in a movie or a video game. These kids have minds that are dying to express themselves creatively. And as the last generation of gamer, the newest generation of gamer needs to have that opportunity to be able to stretch their legs. That newest generation of gamer needs to be told, yes, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and try to do that. Um, Susie and I have a boy who's 17 years old. That's our oldest son. He has played in one of my games online. We knew that he was mature enough to be able to handle some of the content, and if there were times where he wasn't mature enough, we told him to plug his ears. But after he left our game, he went and started running games for his own friends who were his age, and those games were infinitely better because he was able to play with old gamers. That just perpetuates the idea that an older gamer can pass on their experience to a younger gamer who can then go and pass on that experience to others of his own age, his peers. And that is the best gift we can ever give to anybody.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, weird question here. Asked by Ty. Combat, rogue versus mage. Who wins? I think it's dependent on the player for each of them, because you're going to get some people who are really, really awesome rogues and they can just, whoop ass. But then you get people who are really, really awesome mages and they're like the gods of magic.
All right. I have a follow up question for Ty since he's in there. I'll give it a few seconds for him to think. One initiative.
Bingo. Booyah, baby. When do you choose to multi-class? What level can you start and what level should you start? At what point of experience with the game should you try it and what point should you not even think about it? Okay. Multi-classing is one of those weird things. Honestly, it's up to the player and the GM. Just keep in mind when you're multi-classing, you want to pick something that's going to complement the class that you currently have. Like you're not going to go like barbarian mage. They're not complementary. You want something that's going to complement the class that you're in. What level?
Why not do barbarian and mage? Have you never heard of a witch doctor?
Very cool, but I think they already have a class for that, don't they?
Oh, that's homebrew. That's an entire other topic, which, by the way, hashtag
Ah,
triggered for homebrew. Um, yeah, we won't talk about homebrew yet. We'll have that's an entirely other question in there. But as
yeah.
far as multi-classing goes, to be honest, there as soon as you hit level 2, as long as you got the stats for it, you can go ahead and multi-class. I do agree it should match. Match does not mean that they should complement. I mean, can you play a paladin and a warlock combination? Well, hell yes. I mean, if you're playing, let's see, Oath the Ancient Paladin with a Fey ancestry type warlock, they kind of go hand in hand. Or, hey, how about a Fiend Pact with a Vengeance Paladin? Those kinds of things work. But it's really up to the player, it's up to the game master, and to be honest, I will always say this over any mechanic, over anything that's in the player's handbook: story trumps mechanics every time. If your story is good, then go for it.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. And as far as the experience with the game, wait till you I mean, I say wait till you're familiar with the game before you try multi-classing. Um, if you're unfamiliar with the game, you probably don't want to multi-class because you're kind of putting yourself on you're putting a lot on yourself. You're asking yourself to learn now instead of one class about the game. Now you're expecting yourself to learn two classes when you should be really trying to familiarize yourself with the game before you go and multi-class.
Ty, rogue. In the idea of mage versus rogue, who wins? If the rogue won initiative, it's the rogue.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, okay, okay. How do you treat the buying and selling of magic items? Price and availability.
Okay, now, alright. Magic items is specifically in 5th edition is an interesting topic. It was specifically left vague in the player's handbook. It was specifically left basically vague in the game masters because it's supposed to be a world by world basis. It's supposed to be an in-game economy. In a world where the most simple goblin is running around with a purse with 2d6 gold pieces, You know, buying and selling magic items shouldn't be difficult. However, if your economy is, we'll call it a medieval European economy, a true medieval European economy, that means that people are too poor to afford things. So, buying a magic weapon would be few and far between. The availability, well, utilize the availability in the DMG of each of the magic items to determine whether or not it's available. We'll say in a small village, you could find a common magic item, but it would be difficult to find it in that small village. Say there's a shrine in that village to a specific god or goddess, and that is their holy relic. I mean, it's a common magic item. It's like a healing potion, but to them, that's the holy grail right there. You're taking away their holy grail. It's their only magic item. Whereas in a large city with tens of thousands of people in it, finding a runesmith may be a difficult task and an adventure in and of itself, but once you find him, he may be able to make rare or very rare items for you with a little bit of material and adventuring on your part in order to get them for him. I am not one of those people who believe, as game master, that magic items should be falling out of everybody's ass. Temporary magic items, scrolls, potions, one-off items, things that you have to break in order to use. Those kinds of things that do a simple spell effect or a creature ability, those kinds of things can be made by a player in a couple of days. They could be made by an NPC in a couple of days, and maybe a little bit more common than, we'll say, a magic longsword or magic armor. As far as pricing them goes, pricing them, we'll go back to the village where the healing potion is the holy grail. That would be a really expensive healing potion. Sure, the player's handbook says, oh, this is worth, what, 50 gold pieces, I think it says in the player's handbook, or 10 gold pieces, or some ridiculously low number. It may normally be that in there, but 10 to 15 gold pieces in a village where people are, shucking corn for a living, 10 to 15 gold pieces, that's like 2 years' wage for any one person. So them selling their quote unquote holy grail of a magic item for a couple of hundred for, these people who come in and, diamond studded plate armor that gleams in the sunlight with holy avengers, and, you know, that shouldn't be anything to the party to purchase that. But once again, all dependent on the campaign, all dependent on the locations in the campaign, and once again, all dependent on the game master.
Agreed, 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 agreed. Um, how do you get in the gaming mood? To be honest, how do you get in a gaming mood? I mean, do you listen to music? Do you go out and beat crap? Do you play online? How do you prepare for a game?
I take a nap.
Believe it or not, this is true. He does. He really does take a nap. I have a game that I'm playing right before his game, and he literally takes a freaking nap for like 4 hours before a game. What are the differences between wizard, sork, and warlock? Who's better? Who's easier? Honestly, it's all dependent on the player.
Wrong.
Uh,
Wrong.
Bite me, Grognard. It's dependent on the player.
No, it's not dependent on the player. No, 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 no. They all have their own pluses and minuses. And
That's what I'm saying. It's dependent on the player. What is your preference?
no, it's not preference. It's what's easier. The easiest out of those three classes to play is the wizard. By far, it's the wizard. The most difficult to play out of that one, I would have to say the warlock. I think the warlock is about the most complicated class in 5th edition, to be honest. Sorcerers, they are definitely right there in the middle. I would rate sorcerers and bards about the same. Um, but wizard by far. Oh my god, they are so much easy. They are like the fighter of spellcasters. They are just like the baseline of how a spellcaster is supposed to work. They are so easy. It's not even funny.
Look. I find like most of the magic classes, anything that casts spells, I find them easier to play than I do like fighters and stuff like that. I'm sorry. I just like for me there's no difference between the wizard, sorc, or the warlock or cleric or bar. For me they're just easy classes to play. They're simple. They're like no-brainers for me. Other people might find like the fighter classes to be, freaking no-brainers. I just find the spell casters the spellcasters to be the easiest class to play. Why is the warlock the most difficult of them to play? Why is wizard the easiest? All right.
All right, since I'm the one who said it, I'll answer it. Warlocks are the most difficult because of how they buff out their spells, number one, with their invocations, and number two, because how their spell slots work. If anybody wants to read into this, you can go ahead and go read the Warlock in the Player's Handbook. You'll understand what I talk when I say that all the invocations. Basically, they're feats that modify your basic spells, number one, and specific to your Warlock spell list. Number two, your spells are not predetermined. Every other class in the game has a spell list that at level 1 you can cast, first level spells you can cast 4. It's, second level spells you can cast 2. Third level spells you cast 1. Warlocks, you have 2 third level slots. That's what it says on the table. 2 third level slots. And you just kind of look at it and go, okay. It's difficult compared to a wizard, which tells you flat out, I've got A, B, C, D. I need to prepare my spells. So I look in my spell book and I take Magic Missile, because everybody takes Magic Missile. Shield, because everybody takes Shield. And I take Fireball, because everybody takes Fireball. And then you throw in your pepper of spells that you like. The Sorc goes right in the middle between the two of them because of their spell points. Spell points which allow for your meta magic abilities. That is really, really I like that. I like the fact that they changed it from the old way where basically wizards and sorcerers was the same damn thing. Now I like the way the sorcerer works.
Okay, cool. Now here's a question for me. Uh, point buy versus preset.
I already know you are so against point buy because you have to do mathematics.
God, I hate point buy so freaking bad. You don't even know. I can barely add 2 and 2. And now you want me to try and figure out how many do I have to add to get this? Bite me.
So that was a loaded question. In the number of years that you and I have gamed together, and number of years I've gamed, period, I've found that the most fun that I've ever had in any game has been in a point buy system. Whether it's GURPS or D6 or even doing a point buy system back in second edition when they had the options. The 3 black books that came out at the end of second edition after WotC took over.
Oh, sweet freaking Jesus.
So I found I had the most fun with my characters tailoring them with that. However, presets or rolling, actually I'm going to separate the two of them. Preset numbers, for example, a standard array, which is what I use in my online games and a lot of game masters use in their online games. It doesn't allow for a lot of variety. I will give it that, and me being such a champion for things like player autonomy and player driven story and etc etc etc, those things kind of go by the wayside when you do standard array, but it keeps the power level same. Whereas random number generation, or as you kids call it, RNG, RNG is exactly that. I've done it. Susie's done it. A lot of my players have done it. We've rolled for our stats and we come up with the abysmally doomed Screwball, who has all of his stats are below a 10. And that's rolling 4d6 and, dropping the lowest and arranging the taste and everything. And we have that doomed bastard who goes walking into a high level game going, I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey,
So
hey, hey. Now, the water priestess who drowned and the cleric who had a charisma of 8 were some of the best characters we've ever had.
albeit short lived, but yes, they are some of the best characters.
No. The paladin actually made it to like level 20 or some crap like that. We had to give her a freaking helmet of charging.
It was a rhino helmet from third edition, so that way the only way she could hit was by putting her head down and hitting people with her head. That was one of her favorite characters, but it was a lot of fun for us just to watch her do that.
Well, yeah, it was awesome watching her do that. Shut up. Oh my god. Okay. We're gonna go a little bit off topic because we do have some cons coming up, do we not?
Actually, there are 3 conventions coming up, yes. We have Dave Arnson's Game Day, which is an international game day on October 1st. Um, I promised an entire Facebook group of people that I would say this. A few years ago, I worked with Dave Arnson, who, for those of you who don't know, Dave Arnson is the co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons with Gary Gygax. Dave also made the very first fantasy campaign setting with Blackmore. I got to work, had the pleasure and honor of working before he passed away with Dave Arnson, bringing Blackmore from the first edition era and the basic edition era and the pre-basic edition era into third edition. Um, and in his honor, there is a game day on October 1st. I promised that I would announce the fact that I am going to be running an online game in 5th edition called Out of Time. It's an entirely original Blackmore adventure written for this game day, and I will be taking Blackmore participants from that specific group and from online watchers of my stream to go and honor Dave that day. But I'm not the only one honoring him. Anyone in the world on October 1st can honor Dave by picking up or looking through a copy of any of the old Blackmore stuff. It's available all over the internet. Please go ahead and make sure to game on October 1st in honor of Dave. Other than that, there are 2 other ones that are coming up. I believe the one after that would be FG Con, which is Fantasy Grounds Con, which is an online game convention, which is October 14th to 16th. For more information about that, you can go to fg-con.com. The link is also on my channel page. You can see that there. They run games on Fantasy Grounds specifically of all kinds, whether it's Call of Cthulhu or Pathfinder or 3rd edition D&D or Rifts or you name it, they've got it. And there are many, many, many game masters out there that are running games at that point. They are some of the best game masters online you will ever have the pleasure of meeting and playing with. There are a couple of game masters who are friends of mine that are amazing. Please, by all means, go out there. If you play on Fantasy Grounds, get in there and play or run. If you have yet to try out Fantasy Grounds, it's a free demo. Most of the game masters have ultimate licenses and will be able to host, any free player. Just get in there and play. After all, at the end of the day, we're here about playing. The third convention, which is a relatively new thing that I'm taking part in, is on October.
That would be October 29th, and it's Brigade Con.
Brigade Con is, if anybody's watched the YouTube videos for, oh good lord, I'm trying to remember his name. My names have gone blank on me right now. But they're called the RPG Brigade. This is I believe, their third year for their online convention. They are running games all over the place. The Provokers is one of their nomenclatures. I will be running a game myself for Brigade Con. More information will be available about that on my channel page at the beginning of October.
Okay, we have some new questions. Is it better to create characters completely based on your own ideas or based on fantasy characters you enjoy from other works? I'm going to go ahead and field this one. It's honestly, it's really up to the player. You can do either. I find that characters based on your own ideas are they're frigging like phenomenal. I find it easier to just make a character based on my own ideas because then I'm getting exactly what I want. I don't have to worry about somebody else's vision for it. This is what I want for my character. This is who's my character is.
To be honest, I don't care what you want to play. Um, my only question about what you're playing is, do you enjoy it? Is this something that you're going to feel good about playing? At the end of the day, after you leave the game session, do you look at your friends as you're walking away, or online, and you're talking about it the next day? Do you say, "Hey, I enjoyed my character. Hey, I enjoyed playing"? Is that what you did? After all, this is a game. These aren't jobs. These are things we don't go to because we have to go to them. We go to these things and we do these things because we enjoy them. Whether, doesn't matter what system it is, doesn't matter who we're playing with, online, in person, by mail, by bulletin board system, by forum post, whatever. Doesn't matter. Are these games and characters you're enjoying? If you happen to pattern your dwarf after Gimli, by all means, pattern it after Gimli. Do you happen to be patterning your druid after, oh, you know, somebody from World of Warcraft? By all means, do it. You have an undead elf that looks like Sylvanas. Go for it. Whatever. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, at the end of the game session, it's your character. How do you like playing it? And did you enjoy yourself? Did you like it?
Exactly. Okay, now what's the craziest thing that has ever happened to your character in game?
Oh boy. It's not a specific character, but I can tell you about a time in second edition. In second edition, we were playing a long-running campaign, and I decided to make a color character. I made a gnome priest of Pelor in Forgotten Realms. Now, keep in mind, this is back in second edition. Gnomes typically weren't priests, but and Pelor is a human god of sun, so that's what I wanted to play. I wanted to play something colorful, something weird. My game master said, "Yeah, sure, go for it. Break the rules a little bit, not a big deal." So I played a gnome priest of Pelor. I died. Unfortunately, in a horrible, horrible accident, I died. And my character used to get a Buckner's Everfull purse, and if you don't know what that is, that's basically it's a coin purse that always had some sort of monetary value in it. And we would go to towns, and I would give starving children money, and give beggars money, and buy people clothing and food and everything. And I was a very, very good person. Well, the thief that was in the party, who is one of my closest friends and actually one of the godfathers of one of my kids, he was trying to honor my character, and so he took my Buckner's Everfull purse. He also happened to be playing a rogue, and he was going to honor my character by giving out money every time they went to a town. So The next game session comes after my character had died and they'd given me a funeral. I made another character to come into this game, and it was a wizard. And I walk up to meet the player characters. This is shortly after the funeral of my last character, and the rogue takes my Bucknerd's Everfull purse and throws it into his bag of holding. The next question that the game master had was he yells to another game master who lived in the apartment at the time and goes, "Hey, how many dice damage is a dimensional mine?" Because at the time you couldn't put extra dimensional objects inside each other. For example, portable hole and a bag of holding and a Bucknerd's Everfull purse was considered to be an extra dimensional space. So basically, I walked up and said, "Hello, my name is," and boom, I got blown up. So most everybody else survived that except for my brand new character who walked in. So I made yet a third character. Keep in mind, this is over a course of basically about a game session and a half. So I make a third character, and this time I made a character who was a fighter mage thief. And I decided that, you know what? I'm just going to go balls to the wall. He's going to be really extra cool, very edgelord. He's going to be like the sand, warrior. And we're in a desert and blah. And the party found a pyramid and they were going to explore it. And the same rogue who blew up my last character and was trying to honor my first character missed a trap roll, and a deadfall trap went off, and everybody made their saving throw, but me. I was terrible at my saving throw. My saving throw, my dice were like, "Hey, guess what? Fuck off!" And I failed the save. The rogue jumped out of the way because he had a wonderful save, and I turn around. My character turns around, looks at his character in the eyes, and I look my buddy in the eyes, and I look at him. And I flip him the bird, just as the deadfall crushed my character. So yes, that is the most entertaining and embarrassing and weird shit that has ever happened to me in any game. Is I got 3 characters killed inside a game session and a half by one PC.
Yeah, okay, that was kind of awesome. Let's be honest here. That was freaking great. I love that. Um, for me, I actually have 2 of them, and same campaign actually. The first one is, all right, I'm playing a tiefling barbarian. Don't ask me why. And our wizard at the time had a freaking raven as a familiar. Somebody cast like giant on it or something, made it wicked big. The damn thing ripped off my arm and ate it. So mad. He ripped off my freaking arm and ate it. And my character actually died because she bled out and nobody could freaking heal her. The second one is, yes, I had a water priestess. A priestess of freaking water, mind you. Could breathe underwater. Drown. Just drown. Yeah, just, and then was eaten by crocodiles.
The eating by crocodiles thing came from South Park. You know how when Kenny dies, and they say, "You killed Kenny, you bastard," and then the rats came and ate him. Well, we thought it was fitting that a whole bunch of crocodiles came and ate her, because that, I believe, was her third or fourth character in that game session, or in that campaign specifically. She was like 2 game sessions per character.
Yeah, that was that session. Okay. Do you ever recycle characters or do you just leave them in the past? I we've both recycled characters before.
Yeah,
Quite a
we
few
have.
different times.
If it's in the same campaign genre and the same campaign world and the timeline fits, we will occasionally make a character make a surface appearance. I've only had one character ever that I've recycled as an NPC that I was a player originally with, and then I brought back as an NPC later on. Um, that was my second edition Code of the Harpers playtest character. Um, this was pre current internet. This is back in the early 90s when old bulletin board systems that used to have a specific phone number and dial into. I got to play with an amazing game master, by the way. His name was Dave Vaught, and his wife Debbie. We played a Code of the Harpers campaign. At the time, Dave Vaught was the head of the RPGA, the Role Playing Gamers Association, and worked at TSR. Um, and he and his wife had gotten the manuscript for Code of the Harpers before that second edition book had come out. They came online, gathered a group of us together, and I got to play. I think I was 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. Um, and I got to play uh, in the first actual Harper's game that was ever made. And I love that character so much that helped. I mean, to this day, I still name my World of Warcraft characters after this character.
Yeah, that's very true. We've had many incarnations of Raxius over the years.
I've only brought him back once as an NPC, and that was before you started playing.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, 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 favorite characters that you've played. I have one. One of my favorites for you was Aaron Articulus Coic from
Oh, my
Rifts.
Rift's character. The tragically doomed high elf
Asgard.
from Asgard, the Asgardian high elf
Yep.
that was a temporal warrior. Yeah, that was he was. I played him for 2 years, and eventually the power level got to the point where it was almost deific, and I did some pretty ridiculous things with him. But yeah, he was right up there. I'd give him a top 5 spot for characters.
Definitely, definitely. I I don't know. Honestly, one of my favorite characters that I've ever played was actually in World of Darkness. Honestly, it was the Anasazi, the spider lady.
Oh yeah, yeah. Creepy crawly bitch.
Hey, hey, hey! I'm not even gonna go into Vampire to Lawn Chair with you, okay?
I never did lawn chair. I did marshmallows.
Still awesome. Still awesome. And oh boy. Okay. Back to the back to the questions. Okay. Now, as I said before, we do have some cons coming up, and we really do need to talk about con etiquette because a lot of people don't seem to get con etiquette and are rude, nasty little bastards inside cons.
Rule number one when it comes to a convention, whether it's online or in person, bathe.
Oh dear God, yes, please bathe. You don't smell your own funk, but the rest of us do.
Believe it or not, there actually is a disease called gamer funk. People laugh about it, but when Gen Con moved from Milwaukee into Indianapolis, the Board of Health in Indianapolis actually call it gamer funk. You can get very ill for a very long time being around gamer funk. So, please, if you are in the card gamer room or in the war gamer room, wash your ass, you nasty bastards. Wash. Okay. Next, part of gamer etiquette at cons is remember that everybody's there to enjoy themselves. Whether it is the game master or it's the other players at your table, everybody is there to enjoy themselves. Try not to be an asshole to other people around the table.
Yeah, don't be a douche canoe. Please, don't be a douche canoe.
Third is while I said that the game masters are there for their enjoyment, A large number of those game masters who are running at those tables are paid. They are representatives of a company. They are representatives of a brand. They are coerced into running games because these conventions never have enough games. People go to them to play, they don't go to them to run. And let's be honest, a 4 hour game session where you're supposed to tell an entire story and have a bunch of strangers who have never played with each other before, for the most part, sitting around a table and have them all enjoy a story, that's some work. And I have to admit, I've done it many, many times in the past. I've run a lot of games at a lot of conventions. Some because I wanted to, some because I was asked to, and some because I was told I had to. It's a difficult job. It's a thankless job. Be nice to your game master, and you'll find that the game goes much smoother.
Yeah, I have to agree. I definitely have to agree with that. Also, you guys, you need to remember that there are celebrities at these conventions. uh, Gio and I have met Virginia Hay, who, if you don't know who Virginia Hay is, you really, really need to watch Farscape. She is so super cool and she is so super awesome. And I really, really enjoyed meeting her. She's a very nice and a very sweet woman.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
didn't wash your wrist after she put her perfume on her for a week.
Look, shut up. Virginia Hay touched me. That's all that matters. Um, be nice to them. Try not to crowd them. They get they get just as overwhelmed by large crowds as we do. Secondly, not all the celebrities there are going to be so nice and polite. And this leads into our David Carradine story.
Oh God, David Carradine.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Tell him about David Carradine and trying to, that thing
All
he did.
right, all right, all right. It was at Indianapolis, Gen Con Indianapolis. Oh, good lord, it was what, the second year it was there?
2005? No, 2004. Sorry. So I think it was like the second or third year it was there. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd gone out as a part of the media tour for Blackmore and for Dungeon Crawl Classics with Goodman Games. And I was taking a break from my booth. I had been signing autographs all day and rubbing elbows with my fellow game designers and freelancers. And my wife and I decide, hey, we're gonna go look at the booths and just go do stuff and just kind of go wander through the exhibit hall. Which, by the way, if you have the opportunity of wandering through the exhibit hall, take your time, go through it. There are some really cool hidden gems there. And we've been in gaming for many, many years, and we talk to these people all the time. We rub elbows with these people, so we're not starstruck when we walk into an exhibit hall. It's like, oh, look, there's Monty Cook. Yay. Hi, Monty. You know,
Douche.
yeah, douche. We walk by Ed Greenwood, say hi to him, that kind of stuff. We're not really starstruck. We talk business and we move on. We're all in the same business. We all understand each other. We all speak a specific language and we move on. What we don't get to do very often is we don't get to wander around and see things like handcrafted swords or jewelry or other things that these people come to the exhibit hall are making. So my wife and I decided we want to take a break from gaming and get away from the gamers for a while so we could go and just relax and enjoy and look at some really cool art pieces. So we went over to the exhibit hall portion that had all of the craft tables in it. Which, surprisingly, if you are a claustrophobic person like I am, going over to the craft section, great way of getting away from other human beings. It kind of opens up and allows you to breathe. So we're over there. We're looking at some jewelry. I do believe it was from the southwestern United States. So there was a lot of turquoise and ambers and silver work. And we're looking over a table. And this is around the same time that Kill Bill Volume 2 came out, I believe.
That would be volume 1.
Was it?
Yeah, no, it was volume 1, it wasn't volume 2.
Okay. But anyway, so Kill Bill had come out about the same time, so David Carradine was one of the guest speakers at Gen Con that year. So he happened to be wandering down from one end of the table. My wife and I were wandering down from the other end of the table, and all three of us are paying closer attention to the crafts on the table than the fact that we were standing next to each other. David Carradine, if you don't know, has a penchant for liking tea. Loves tea. Extremely hot, scalding tea. How would I know that his tea is scalding? We were looking at the same piece of silvered jewelry. I do remember it was a bracelet that had amber and turquoise set into a beautiful hand wrought silver filigree that this woman had spent like weeks on. Which, by the way, it cost an arm and a fucking butt cheek. And so we're looking at it and we're listening to her story about it. Myself, my wife, and David Carradine. And David is not very far from me. I mean, we're just about touching each other. I mean, there's not a lot of space, let's be honest. There's not a lot of space in a convention hall. And suddenly I feel something warm. Now, keep in mind, it is August when we're there, but I feel something very, very warm, and I'm wearing shorts. And I'm like, what the hell? And my crotch starts getting really fucking warm. I'm like, what the hell? I look down. David Carradine has his teacup, which is a typical like hotel coffee mug kind of thing. Scalding hot, boiling ass water with a tea bag in it, parked less than an inch under my crotch in between my legs. Basically, I was teabagging his tea. That is the David Carradine story. Because he looked down at me, he looked down at my crotch, looked down at his tea bag, and he was like, huh, and walked away. So he kind of gave me that, I'm an actor and famous, and I'm an asshole, and he walked away kind of thing. So fuck you, David Carradine.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, and all my little gamer geekies out there, we are now we are out of time at this point. Any questions? Go ahead. Send them to us. If you're on Facebook, look up GeoQuester Gaming. We are on Facebook. Go ahead and send your questions there. Um, and we will pick up the same time, same place next week. I want to thank you all for coming and all of our love out there to everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and making this episode so much fun. And we will see you next time. Bye bye.